Hello, this is Tony Heller from realclimatescience.com. It only takes a few minutes to show how the process of homogenization makes the global temperature record worthless. We're going to start by looking at two nicely sited stations in Venezuela which are a few miles apart. The measured temperature data shows a slight cooling over the last 75 years. And there's a fair amount of consistency between the two stations, shown in blue and yellow. There's no reason to believe there's anything wrong with this temperature data. But the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration tampers with the data from these two stations and turns this cooling trend into a very strong warming trend. By altering the data, they've created almost 7 degrees Fahrenheit per century warming, which is completely fictional. So let's take a look at how the U.S. government is corrupting the Venezuela temperature record. NOAA has very little data from South America from 1953. The closest stations are 128 kilometers away and 101 kilometers away. Both of these stations are located in urban areas at airports. And not surprisingly, both of those stations are warming, likely due to urban heat island effects. Now let's take a look at the NOAA adjustments. They do almost nothing. Here's the measured temperatures, and here's the adjusted temperatures. What NOAA is doing is corrupting these two good stations with urban heat island affected data from these two bad stations. This is a process they call homogenization, which corrupts just about every good temperature record in the world. The correct way to handle this would be to not use urban heat island affected data. But NOAA does the exact opposite. They take the bad data and smear it over a very large distance. By tampering with the good station data, they can create the warming trend which the politicians want to see. And to put this in perspective, these stations are further apart than Berkeley, California, and Sacramento. Nobody would think they could guess the weather in Berkeley based on the weather in Sacramento. They have completely different climates. Smearing the thermometer data from Berkeley and Sacramento together would make absolutely no sense scientifically, yet that's what the U.S. government is doing all over the world. Homogenization is the equivalent of putting poison in the soup and then diluting it a little bit and patting yourself on the back. If you want to make a good soup, you can only use the good ingredients, and you have to exclude any bad ingredients, like these urban heat island affected thermometers. The process of homogenization makes no sense scientifically, but it guarantees a fake warming trend, which, as I said earlier, is what the politicians want to see. Tens of thousands of daily temperature readings were taken over the last 70 years at these two stations, and there's no good reason to believe there's anything wrong with them. The U.S. government is quite literally going in and corrupting another country's history. Government agencies are inherently political, and Toto's been pulling back the curtain on them for almost 16 years. You can visit him and his family on the web at realclimatescience.com.